Well, it must be nice from an historical standpoint to have the first ever V8 supercar pole position here in China. But for you, Mark Scaife, it's your first in 9 months. That must make it even more special.
Yeah, I mean, our qualifying was great last year. We had some really good results, but we haven't done the best job so far this year. So, you know, to have pole at Shanghai is a great, you know, effort from all of our guys, because we've had no data and we've had to work pretty hard. So it probably makes it a bit, you know, even better in terms of how the results turned out for us.
It is a wonderful, impressive venue, but it is such a different racetrack to anything else we're used to on our calendar. Has it been more difficult to get used to this track compared to other new tracks we've gone to in the championship in the past?
Look, it probably is, because the style of the circuit is nothing that we've seen before. Most of the corners actually have a closing radius, which means they tighten up as you get round the corner. Mostly in Australia, our corners open out at the end, which probably suits these cars a little better. But when we've come here, we've had to try to get our brain around it. And I mean, it's the same for everybody. It's you know, it's in that respect, it's actually quite an analytical, good thing to do.
The first thing you did yesterday was go out and burn 10 of your allocated 30 laps in that practice session to learn the track. Others were a little more conservative, going out lap in, not spending that amount of time. How much does that investment help you in terms of getting sorted for the track, do you think?
Well, I wanted to do two things, Rusty. I wanted to go out and not only learn the circuit, but I also, because it was wet, I wanted to go and run in the wet, because, you know, we don't know what the conditions are going to be like. If it rains, we want to be able to have a good car in those sorts of conditions also. So, I mean, I did it for two reasons. In the end, it's worked pretty well for us.
I know you're pleased about getting pole. What you want is a conversion. Go out there and do it. Good luck.
Thanks, Rusty. Thanks, mate.
Well, Jamie Whincup made the top 10. His second one so far of his career in V8 supercars. First one was 03 in Winton this weekend, but disappointing. They've put you from 9th back to 10, Jamie. You were late getting out pit lane.
Yeah, that's correct. We tried to make a few changes in between qualifying and the shootout, and unfortunately, yeah, we're about 2 seconds late to crossing the line to get the car in pit lane. But hey, we're in 10th position. That's a very good spot to start, so we're all pretty happy.
What brings that on? Obviously, we've gone to a round where it's a level playing field. How's the circuit been to you?
Well, you're exactly right there. No one here has got 10 years experience on this circuit, which is the case on some other tracks in Australia. It's a level playing field. We all come, we all have a go, and you know, I'm just doing what I usually do and just try to get this car around the track as fast as I possibly can. And hey, we're up the front, but the team, Dodo Racing, is doing a fantastic job. Jason's very quick also. We've got to make sure we change that, or get that speed into race mode, and try to pick up some good valuable points.
I hope this is a good result for you today.
Yeah, thank you very much. We love the track and love being here, and looking forward to a good result.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Let's talk the hot topic, the Zinger hot topic. We remind you that KFC's Zinger Burger is the official burger of V8 Supercar Racing. To lodge your hot topic, all you need to go to is rpmlive.tv. We encourage you to send in your questions and your hot topics. We congratulate round 4 winner Stan Burt from Newtown in New South Wales. And his Zinger hot topic for Neil Crompton is, how does an international round benefit the sport? Crompo?
It's a question that's being asked by a lot of V8 supercar fans. It's a very good question, and I think the answer is a kind of multi-layered answer, this one, because clearly it focuses international motorsport and general community attention on V8 supercar, which is a great thing. It probably opens up a number of other commercial opportunities for race teams, and that's very important. And I think one of the points that's been a little bit overlooked from time to time in this discussion is that the series is not about to embark on a mission to take the whole circus overseas on a repeated basis. The charter that the Australian V8 Supercar Company has with CAMS is for a minimum of 10 domestic races and a maximum of 4 away games. And of course we go to New Zealand and now China, so there still could be potential for some other trips away, but we'll always be a domestic series, so these are real just, you know, highlight events rather than us taking away our precious sport from Australia.
Let's deal with a couple of key issues coming out of the drivers' briefing, which was a very interesting drivers' briefing. We were there, and I'll let you explain them, Crompo.
Well, quite a few of the drivers have been talking about the incident in Race 1, Turn 3 at Eastern Creek, and they were seeking clarification from the investigating and prosecuting officer, Peter Wallerman, and driving standards observer, Colin Bond. They wanted to understand their interpretation of what happened, and Colin explained to the 32 drivers that, in his view, shared, I might mention, by Peter Wallerman and others in the stewards' camp, that Mark Scaife was the overtaking car as they exited turn 2 on approach to the right-hand turn 3. And as such, he needed to afford racing room to Marcus, who was fully pinned up to the right-hand side of the circuit, couldn't go any further to the right. And it wasn't an under-braking or B-pillar scenario. And the emphasis that they wanted to provide the guys in the room was that they only look at race 2 if you need an example of how people can go side by side through that corner, like, for example, Scaife and Richards in the second race, and that's what they were looking to do.
The other one was about the restarts at Eastern Creek. Craig Lowndes was at the point of that.
Yeah. Well, Craig was trying a technique, and you see it in NASCAR a bit, where he's trying to just confuse the field and blast away by jumping on and off the brakes and up and down on the accelerator, and that caused a little bit of mid-pack drama as people were splayed off in all directions trying to avoid the rest of the pack bunching up. So they've ruled out those kinds of activities at the restart, and they've asked the drivers to, once they make the determination that they're going to go, once they launch, that's it. They can't back out of it.
3-race format this weekend. The first race, 22 laps. The following 2 are 30 lappers. This one kicks us off. And there you see the pit window, 5 to 15 laps for this 22-lap event. Mark Scaife on pole position for the first time, as illustrated on the Talon Tough Tools grid. We congratulate him for that. He has almost got there several times this year, but not quite. And Stephen Richards, a very healthy qualifying position. The topic of the day at the moment, Neil, is tyres. Will they last? Where will they burn off? What will get the most wear? What are your thoughts?
Well, I just did a scoot down pit lane to see what everybody's saying, and they're all saying watch the left rear. I think tyre wear could be an issue here, and certainly the tyres are degrading lap on lap in their speed. Sometimes we're seeing a step off of anywhere between half a second to a second per lap in the first few laps. They're going to have to nurse them. They'll have to be very careful of brakes too, because that heavy braking application into 12 is then followed by another one very soon after at 14. Some of them are talking about a thing called knock-off, where the front brakes aren't fully effective. They're locking the rear brakes, and so we'll keep an eye on that.
Ambient temperature is currently 28 degrees, Neil. On track, it is 38. I've just run past the chairman, Tony Cochran. Big smiles on his face. A huge moment here. Big crowd. Awesome.
Quite often the phrase, "this is history in the making," is used all too often or loosely, but this truly is. V8 Supercars offshore in Shanghai, China for the very first time. And so far this weekend, so good. The race meeting has gone to plan. Everyone has enjoyed the week leading up, whether it be shopping in the markets or the various media activities. It's been a relaxed lead up to this race, but now it's the business end. It's time to get serious. Qualifying and the shootout out of the way, and the multi-time champion on pole position. Supercars Shanghai style. Let's do it. And Stephen Richards blows Scaife away off the line. Terrific start from the Castrol Perkins driver. Scaife slots into second. Third is Paul Radicic. He holds Greg Murphy off. Scaife looking on the inside of Richards. Oh, we got a car turn. It's Greg Ritter.
Greg Ritter, some nose-to-tail contact down there in the approach area to turn 1. He's okay. It doesn't look like he's buried in the gravel. Dumbrell's gone off as well. He's on the access road trying to crawl back on. He went off there on Friday and it caused some drama. Oh, trouble here on the way down to 4. That was Lowndes getting very twisted up with Stephen Johnson.
That was close. Good catch, Craig Lowndes. Scaife is all over Richards at the front though. The battle for the lead is on. Meanwhile, they're sorting themselves at the back of the pack. It's Stephen Ellery in trouble, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, it is Ellery. Meanwhile, Stephen Richards leads the way.
Scaife, another ordinary start. He won't be happy about that. You don't want to give away that pole advantage. They don't come to you terribly often in this business. Lowndes is sliding around. I think he's got a problem.
Jamie Whincup is tucked in there as well. He's ahead of Stephen Johnson, rather. Radicic has got Murphy and Kelly on his heels. Ingle trying to regroup. He's already got past Jason Bright. And here come the hungry pack. First time down the in excess of 1 kilometre long straight.
Murphy. Oh, yes, I think he's far enough up the inside of Radicic and carts Paul out wide, and that'll allow, I think, Todd Kelly to come up and take a spot as well. Marcus is in there as well. This is the final corner onto the pit straight.
Very costly there for Paul Radicic. 2 positions lost. possibly even 3 as Ambrose zeroes in, but up front it's Richard Scaife, first lap down of the 22.
Team boss David John at Team Kiwi Racing just prior to the start of this race, and his concern was that the Team Kiwi Commodore may be compromised in horsepower terms. He said the front straight and that 1.4k back chute is where it would hurt them the most.
On board there with Marcus Ambrose through turn 1, and you could see that it's just a corner that goes on and on and on. It's been a real talking point for the drivers as they try to unravel the mysteries of getting through there quickly in these cars that don't particularly like big direction changes like that.
Stephen Richards, the race leader, told you and I, Neil, just before the start of this race, it just goes on and on forever, that you can't turn your head far enough to the right to see where you're supposed to be going.
Yeah, it tightens up as you get to turn 2. David Bernard with damage to the left rear tyre there and bumper. And the problem is with the wings on the seats and the hands device and the limited peripheral vision from the helmets anyway, it's actually quite difficult to sight the apex of the corner, and it descends to the apex of turns 2 and 3.
The general feedback is this track hasn't been as quick as they thought. Zinger replay of the start. Watch Richards fly.
Yeah, Scaife had to double dip. You can hear in the background there. Just cycle the clutch pedal to get himself mobile on the way into turn 1. And look at that giant amphitheatre with stadium seats up to the left. Have a look here at Greg Ritter in the middle of the pack. Can't see. I think it might have been the second of the 888 entries, and Paul Dumbrell taking evasive action. And this was a real scary moment. Look at that. Craig Lowndes and Stephen Johnson. I don't think Craig was aware of the fact that Stephen was there, and that allowed Jason Richards to also make a move. Russell Ingall taking advantage of Jason Bright, and then Stephen Ellery getting a bump, I believe. I'm not quite sure who made contact with him there, and it turned him around. Oh, there's the damage. That's the reason why there was damage on the back of Bernard's car. He made contact with one of the Gary Rogers Valvoline entries.
Scaife, the fastest car on track, 151.41 last time round. Richards locks up. He's feeling the pressure from Scaife. Through turns 1, 2. This is the most difficult section on the circuit, and Richards is under pressure.
This is the area where they depart the Grand Prix circuit, the blind approach to 4. It's a little chicane, 5, and they open up to a right-hander next for 6. It goes on, it goes through about 180 degrees. This is 6. Scaife looks like he's got a bit of speed. You can tell that Stephen's car is just sliding around a little. 7, and then 7 and 8 are a little bit like the middle of Queensland Raceway. Squirt of the throttle, off, a gear change. Then they open the cars up a bit here for the braking run to turn 9. It's a hard left, and then this never-ending right that takes you to the back straight. It's the left-hander, 9. Big direction change here. Some cars not handling it well. Gear shift. There it is. And then there'll be another one also with load on the car that takes them to this massive back straight. From apex to apex, 1,455 metres. Scaife in the gutter.
I love that corner there, Neil. It's like a NASCAR track or like a motocross berm. They can tuck in and it spins them and sends them onto the back straight. Look at Scaife here. Rick Kelly is already in the garage. It's been a troublesome weekend for Team Buick.
Oh, he just pinches the rears on the way in there. He's got a lot of pressure on Stephen. Some pedal dramas for Rick Kelly. I'm hearing him talk on the radio. And Bernard limping back. Pressure for Stephen Richards through the final turn beneath the media centre, completing another lap. The fastest man on the track so far is Scaife at 51.4. They'll click those numbers one more time. Shortly the pit window will open for the compulsory stop for tyres.
No trouble with straight speed. Straight line speed. Oh yeah, he has damage on the front there. Scaife. How significant is it?
It's a fair old punch in the front left-hand corner of that car. Not sure where that happened. Does it affect the brake ducting and the aero on this car?
Was it one of the tyre bundles? They have been hitting that one through turn 3.
Talk about damage, guys. Just quickly have a look at this tyre. If anyone runs off in the gravel trap, which a few have already, the rocks are tearing these tyres apart. So anyone that runs off into those and try to gas it up and get back onto the track quickly, the damage is quite significant with those rocks.
Another problem for Greg Ritter here. As we look at that Dunlop control tyre, you can see the markings on it actually noted the tread depth on the tyre. They start out with 4 millimetres of slick racing tyre tread depth available to them. And I think in particular the left rear tyre around this track is going to take some work today.
Behind Richards and Scaife, it's Todd Kelly, Greg Murphy, Radicic, Ambrose, Lowndes, Jason Richards 8, Jamie Whincup 9 and Russell Ingall 10.
The tough start to the weekend for car 15 continues. Rick Kelly, the depression that he was talking about with one of the pedals before, Neil, is the clutch. They have a clutch problem in this car, and it looks like it's game over for the first race for him.
We keep a watchful eye on the front end of Mark Scaife's HRT Commodore. The front left, look at it. Starts to just send little smoke signals at high speed, at maximum speed on the back straight, but through cornering, it's not too bad.
That was a good shot of it. I don't think it's a major drama, but I reckon you're right, Lee. He's clouded a tyre bundle at some point. So the order is Richard Scaife, Todd Kelly, Greg Murphy, Paul Radisich, Marcus Ambrose, 51.2 this lap for Stephen Richards, fastest so far. Ambrose, Lowndes, Richards, Whincup, Ingle in the 10, Bright, Johnson, Tander, Morris, Wheel, Bargwana, Matt White, Cam McConville, Simon Wills, Glenn Seaton. That's your top 20.
Wonder if Ingle had a problem that last lap. Jason Bright has got through on the Caltex Ford. He's making good headway. Marcus Ambrose fighting further back in the pack. He's 6th at the moment and doing it a little tougher than he's used to.
Gives us a graphic look at just the enormity of this grandstand here as they click over another lap. 5 down. 0.3 of a second was the official margin between these two into turn 1. And this onboard shot just shows how far around this corner loops. They've got to get back to second about there, and then it ducks down to the right. This is the apex they're having trouble seeing, and then continues to descend through turn 3.
That's where I reckon, Neil, that Scaife has clouded that tyre bundle.
Often if you're really close to the back of another car, very easy to unsight the apex of the corner and just whack the tyres. I think it's settled itself down, normalised. There's no problem with the brake ducting. It's further around the front bumper, and it was just having a rub at one point. Richo right on the limit there.
The HRT gang will be able to take a look at it. The pit window is now open. 5 to 15 for the compulsory tyre stop.
Big long stop here too, Lee. Excluding the stationary time, it takes 46 seconds to transit the pit lane here. In this race 1, the shorter of the 3 races this weekend, they'll have started with between about 70 and 80 litres of fuel depending on their own individual consumption. The lap around here at 100% throttle, you only end up spending 40-odd% of the lap flat out.
It is.
They've just asked Mark Scaife whether or not he's being held up, because if he is, they want to get him out from under the back of Stephen Richards. Richo's gone defensive, down to the hairpin.
He knows that he's coming in this time round. Clear pit lane for Stephen Richards was the message. Look at Scaife hassling him, hounding him.
Giving him some help along. And if I was Scaife, I'd do an extra lap or 2 here, because you might actually make a net gain on Stephen.
They're both in. I think Scaife's coming in as well. Greg.
Just spoken to HRT team manager Rob Starr. He tells me that they've been glued to that monitor looking at the damage on Scaife's car. They're not overly concerned by it at this stage.
Yeah, they've actually elected to leave him out, which I thought they'd do, because Stephen's in getting service. They're doing rears only by the look of it. Yes, pretty good stop. Marcus is in as well, Dodo Racing entry. So Mark Scaife, with what looked to be a whisker of additional speed over Stephen Richards, might make a 10th or 2 on this lap, and that'll be what he is pinning his hopes on.
So Scaife now inherits the lead as the number 1 Pertec Ford is in. Jason Richards running in the top 10. It's been a Holden-dominated top 10 thus far, with about 8 of the top 10 for the General. Ambrose is gone.
You've got to remember, guys, too, that Stone Brothers Racing, when they make adjustments on the run like this, Ambrose car comes good. He struggled throughout qualifying in the shootout because they've tried a different brake package on that car. They've now gone back to what they're used to. They said the car would be strong, so keep an eye on it.
I think they did a pretty good stop then too, Darryl, because relative to Stephen, I reckon they actually closed the gap a little bit. Problem here for Max Wilson, who was quick on Friday. Greg?
An absolutely tough stop for Paul Wheel. It took a good 15 seconds. They had a problem with the right rear on that car, but contrast that with the pit bay right next door. The HSV dealer team, a brilliant job for Garth Tander, 3.38 seconds, and GT was gone.
They renumbered the Max Wilson car to 328 this weekend, because in Chinese it translates to profit and success.
Not a bad idea. Well, it hasn't working though. And you could hear Mark Scaife there talking with the boys, saying, "You sure you don't want to do one more lap?" They asked him to come in. Who is it that stayed out? Is it Todd Kelly or Mark Scaife? There's the answer. Scaife is in.
Pinched the brakes a little, just getting to the 40k control line. It's a downhill approach into the pit lane here. And Mark just advising the team that he's in. Such a long lane, they can't see him from there into the pit lane.
Hey mate, we're on left-hand side.
So they're going to do down the working side of the car, not the rears.
This will give them the opportunity to have a look at the damage on the front. Meanwhile, this is Lowndes in for his compulsory.
Little tricky down here too, boys, because it's concrete as they venture off the bitumen in pit lane. This is taking a little while longer for Mark Skaife. 7 seconds gone already. And they tend to slide a bit on the concrete. Skaife rejoins just ahead of Lowndes. Ingle peeling in for his stop. Looks like a drama for Murphy's stop as well.
That burnt Mark Skaife because they couldn't get the wheel clear. Oh.
Wait. Go. Arthur Johnson. Yeah, so close,
You can see there Marcus Ambrose got out ahead of Mark Skaife. It was costly, Neil.
Yeah, he was hurt then because the problem with the damage on the front of the car is it fouled being able to pull the wheel off and on cleanly, and burnt valuable seconds trying to get that sorted. They took the opportunity to put some race tape on it as well. I used the term before, the working side of the car, because this is a clockwise circuit and a lot of right-handers, it's the left side of the car that does the work. So both left tyres work particularly hard here. There's a lot of concern that turn 1 is hard on the front left tyre and the general shape of the track is very hard on the left rear tyre. So some different teams approaching their tyre management in different ways. Some doing rear tyres only. Trouble at turn 1 here, Greg Ritter and Paul Dumbrell, and Ritter in the wars again.
Next up on the Zinger replay sequence, Jason Bargwanna. This is at the hairpin. Contact from Matthew White in the Brightech Fujitsu Ford. He gets helped out of the way. Jason Bargwanna was very quick early in the weekend in the wet practice 2-hour session, but as soon as it dried up, his handling went away. Second HRT car in, this is Todd Kelly.
He was the leader of the race.
And Mark Winterbottom is in trouble in the Orcon Ford. Looks like his day is done. So troubles, major troubles for Bernard, for Max Wilson, for Mark Winterbottom. Been a tough start to the weekend. Here's Kelly's stop.
Oh, skidded way past the marker points on the concrete that Greg referred to before. The actual rattling the wheels on and off was quick and efficient, but the boys hate it when you go past your markers.
They went left side too for Kelly, just like Skaife. Darryl.
Team Kiwi went the same as well, the working side that Neil mentioned, the left-hand side for Paul Radicic. Also, Jamie Whincup in, 2 rears for him. And that car has had a bit of a misfire in it, or a spike in the ECU off throttle. They think there's an interference. They moved the coil on that car to try and stop it getting interference, but it spikes to about 9,500.
Yeah, the engine doesn't actually rev that, but the engine control unit, or ECU, thinks that it has, and so it goes haywire trying to sort itself out. They've had terrible problems with it at Eastern Creek and here again this weekend. They've looked at changing everything in the car. They can't get on top of it at the moment.
Great stop from the HRT gang for Todd Kelly. They've got him out ahead of Marcus Ambrose and Mark Skaife, right in behind Stephen Richards. So these are your top 4 guys in the race at the moment. And Radicic has joined this chain as well. He should be right in behind those guys. Look at Kelly. Kelly's got plenty of speed. He's going with Stephen Richards.
Oh, goodness me, that's a great. Oh, I know what that is. It's a little bit of the drainage on the side of the circuit. When we walked the circuit on Thursday, it lines both sides of the circuit for drainage purposes, and he's whacked that hard. That's the reason that car's pulled over. So that'll have done damage underneath the car for certain, and that's the reason he's abandoned it.
There is pressure, major pressure on Stephen Richards. You look at Marcus Ambrose, Mark Skaife, the 2 who tangled at Eastern Creek. It's on again, but Richards is playing defensive from Kelly. Kelly is the one with all the speed at the moment. He inherited the lead after Richards and Skaife stopped, but now Todd Kelly is the man.
He's got good pace. He's in a bad spot here, though, as he comes up to the final corner.
How much longer can Stephen Richards hold on? We are almost at the halfway mark.
A lot of drivers are discussing how bad the behaviour of their cars is already, and we're only, not even halfway through this race. So if your car isn't working well on this track here in China, it seems to amplify whatever the weaknesses you have in the balance of the car. Todd able to use a shallower exit line then off turn 3. This is the little chicane, turns 4 and 5. There's a lot of concern about drivers straight lining those, and they've appropriately placed big tyre bundles right at the apex to keep them all on the black stuff.
Good stop by Jason Bargwanna, and they've made some wholesale changes in terms of the roll center on that car. But in the meantime, I'm going to grab a quick word with the team boss, Mark Larkham. What's the diagnosis on Mark Winterbottom's car?
Well, we only very briefly got a message before he came out of the car. He said something to the effect of something come through the car and the engine stopped. So Rusty really don't know much more at this stage.
You may or may not have seen our replay, but it did look like a grate or something along those lines has popped up from the circuit. So he feels it's done some serious engine damage?
Well, we really don't know. I just got that message. Something came through the car and the engine stopped. So really not sure what's going on there.
Good luck, Mark.
Okay, thanks, mate.
Stephen Richards is doing his best to handle the pressure from Kelly. Kelly's weaving from side to side, looking for an opportunity, a line, an opening to get by.
And the rules permit Stephen to move once, which he's done, to a defensive position. They discourage you moving back again, and if it's too aggressive, they will give you a bad sportsmanship or even a black flag. Stephen hasn't done that. He just stayed down the right-hand side, but clearly Todd's got pace at the moment. A little battle right behind. There's an interesting one as well between Marcus Ambrose and Mark Scaife.
That has remained the same since those guys came together after their respective sequence of pit stops. Lowndes is starting to apply some pretty nice pressure on Radicic as well. Then it's Murphy tucked in behind those guys.
250 kilometres an hour on the approach to turn one, which is quite substantially uphill. Oh, and Richards locks up and it allows Todd Kelly to sneak by.
He was there, he was hounding him, he was waiting, and he was in the right position. Nicely through. Todd Kelly, the new race leader.
Car 52, Matt White's also going to get a black flag for that infringement down at the hairpin with Bargwanna, I believe.
Yet to pit in this race, Paul Morris and the man Neil was just talking about, Matt White. Here's the Zinger replay, move for the lead.
It's where the second brake application comes to slow the cars down for, it's really all part of turn one, but it's officially called turn two. And when Stephen grabbed the brake pedal, it just locked up a little and carted him wide. And that allowed Todd cleanly through on the inside.
And it's been a successful weekend in Shanghai for the Dodo Racing Commodores. There's his teammate Jamie Whincup, just 2 positions back. Race leader is Todd Kelly. This could be the turning point in the championship for Kelly.
On corrected positions, he's the race leader. Paul Morris, Matthew White, Greg Ritter, Anthony Tratt, they're still to negotiate the lane. But a 51.0 the last lap for Todd Kelly, underlining the speed that he's got in that car.
Got some interesting information, guys, after these pit stops. I just spoke to Dunlop. I said to him, what about the rear left-hand tyre on these cars? Like you mentioned, Neil, earlier about the working side of the car. They said around about 80, low 80 degrees in temperature. It's about 10 to 15 degrees higher than anything we see in Australia. So they're working hard.
Watch car 3. Jason Richards may come on strong as this race progresses. Had a good long chat with Wally Story, the team boss at Dodo Racing, prior to this race. Now, Jason was elbowed out of the top 10 shootout to the tune of just 0.02 of a second, and it happened right at the death knell by Stephen Richards. Wally Story has a saying. He says, you don't spend your pennies, and they wanted to keep a set of tyres up their sleeve. They did that. They played the waiting game, but unfortunately, Stephen Johnson got into the shootout. Jason Richards missed out. The upside to that is they have 4 green tyres in their bank. They put 2 on in this race. They're saving 2 for the rest of this weekend's races.
So he'll have very good grip available to him at the moment. Paul Radicic under some pressure at the moment, showing 10th. Let's have a look at this mob go through down at the hairpin, turn 12. Guys that are effectively battling for the lead of the race. There's Radicic we spoke of in that vigorous battle with Murphy at the moment. Stephen Johnson in 15th. Garth Tander. Matthew White's taken his stop-go or his drive-through, and Russell Ingall was behind him. They got to the bottom of the vibration in the Stephen Richards car too. They had a problem with that on Friday. They dropped about 20 minutes trying to find it. They think that it flicked a weight off the tail shaft, so they've replaced the tail shaft in that car for this race, and it's fine.
Championship-wise, this is valuable stuff for Stephen Richards. 88 points behind Russell Ingall for 2nd and 3rd in the championship coming into this Shanghai round. Effectively, Stephen Richards is 2nd in the race. Ingall is well and truly down the order in 13th. Ride with Ambrose.
Very different approach from those two drivers. In that previous corner, Marcus really hugging and turning in early. Stephen taking a more traditional swooping line. This is the run down to turn 9. Do a very quick direction change here. Left then right, and then this long corner. It actually begins to get banking on it when you come around it. It banks up quite substantially from about here. Rumbling over those ripple strips just shakes the fillings out of your head.
That was uncomfortable sitting here. Todd Kelly, the race leader and the fastest lap of the race. He had a successful start to the 05 season with 2 top 10s at the Clipsal 500, then seemed to lose his way and even borderline on doing some silly things at Pukekohe and at Barbagallo, where it just didn't go his way, and a lot of talk around that how much pressure he was under. Well, he's responded. He responded nicely in the last race at Eastern Creek with a solid 4th place, but now he is running strong. Look at the crowd, this massive grandstand that holds 40,000 spectators. First class view of V8 Supercars Best. We climb on board Super Cheap Auto Racing's machine with Greg Murphy, and remind you that if you've spent $30 or more at any Super Cheap Auto store and you've already entered the V8 Muscle Car Mania Comp, here's your chance for some bonus entries. Simply SMS the code. This weekend it's HSVLS2, which you can see on Murph's dash, and you can SMS text it as many times as you want. For our Australian viewers, 1977 51 51, and in New Zealand, SMS 8844. Good luck. This week's winner will get the opportunity to be a part of Super Cheap Auto's pit crew for the Super Cheap Auto Bathurst 1000, including travel, flights, 2 nights accommodation. Good luck, get stuck into it.
I don't think Greg ended up with the race car that we thought he was going to have. He's just not quite a force out there at the moment. He's been very strong all weekend. There's the order. Morris and Ritter are yet to take their compulsory stop. Ambrose just beginning to get a little closer now to the back of Stephen Richards.
If you've just joined us, it's been a very uncharacteristic weekend for Marcus Ambrose. His worst qualifying, and when we say that, not being too dramatic, he started 7th, so it wasn't all too bad. But he ran off yesterday and he's locked it up here. He spun there during qualifying. Scapes got through, that's cost him 1 position, and he's been able to regroup. But now can he respond?
His eyes getting wider as he got closer to the corner down there, and all of a sudden in the background you heard the rear brakes just locking up. Here it is from outside the car. The Zinger replay shows actually he went pretty darn close to giving Stephen a tap down there. It was an easy pass for Mark Scaife. No tyre damage done, but damage done in terms of his position.
Looking at the battle for 3rd, it's Todd Kelly, Stephen Richards, now Mark Scaife, and this man here, the Pertec Ford. We ride with Marcus Ambrose.
Turn 6, sort of averaging about 115 k's across the front of the corner. Turn 7 back down to about 90 k's, a little bit quicker here through 8, 120 kilometres an hour, accelerating now up to 210 kilometres per hour. Down to about 80 through here. Short, sharp blip of the throttle up to about 90, and then they kind of have to hesitate again for just a moment. Around 120 k's, short shift on the engine. Don't chase all the revs or it makes too much oversteer. It makes the rear of the car slide, and then start to use all 600 plus horsepower.
Paul Morris yet to perform his compulsory pit stop for tyres. He needs to do that now as he comes in. 5 to 15 was the pit window, and that's exactly where we are now.
Max, obviously there's an issue with the car. We saw some water running out the bottom of it. What's the problem?
Yeah, it seems that it's just a rock came from somewhere and just hit it. It went through the radiator and made a big hole in it. So we were losing water, and the engine temperature was going too high, so it had to stop, unfortunately.
The engine's okay, other than that, just replace the radiator?
Yeah, we stopped early enough, so the engine's okay. So it was just a shame the car was going all right, and we did not finish the race, so it's a shame.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you, Darren.
Well, for the WPS Ford team, it's been a tough start to the weekend for you, David Bernard. Just give us your take on what happened.
I don't know, Rusty, everyone was sort of racing pretty hard there the first corner. All I'm trying to do is keep out of trouble so we can finish some races, and I couldn't tell you what happened. I got hit pretty hard from behind going into the corner and coming out of turn 2. Someone just whacked me in the side, or turn 3 I think it was. Someone just whacked me really hard in the side, and I climbed over their front wheel and put us out. So
initially you were concerned by the Watts linkage, but at the end, was it a power problem, a battery problem?
I haven't looked at the wheel, but it must have broken the wheel, because I had that feel about it when you break a Watts linkage. It was wandering all over the road, then the tyre went flat, and I thought, oh. So we limped back, and all it was a tyre and a wheel.
Thanks, David.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's got pretty good consistency at the moment. That car's rocking along pretty well, but he's running out of laps. We're looking at the possibility of yet another race winner, officially in the championship at least this year. We know that Todd did well at the Australian Grand Prix meeting in Melbourne. But analysing race wins this year, Murphy's got 3, Ambrose 3, Lowndes, Scaife, Ingle and Stephen Richards 1. Todd Kelly may add his name to that list. He's got a pretty handsome margin at the moment, 2.3 seconds. Last lap for him was a 52.1, Stephen Richards 52 even, Mark Scaife the same. Marcus Ambrose 52.3, Lowndes 51.6. So it underlines what you were saying, Lee, that he's quick at the moment. Not sure that he's going to be able to do too much with it. And then Radisich is 6th, good effort, 51.9, Bright. And then Greg Murphy, Jason Richards, Jamie Whincup.
Lowndes was in a very good mood prior to the start of this race, and I asked him, Neil, why the car didn't look so good on its shootout lap, and he feels that they really didn't get the best run at the car on 4 green tyres. In qualifying, unfortunately, because his own teammate Stephen Ellery went off, it happened while Lowndes was on a lap with 4 green tyres, and it basically killed his chance to get a look at the car and feel what its performance was like. To manage the tyres, all they did was then add 2 rears at a time throughout the rest of qualifying. So when it came to the shootout, they were on 4 brand new tyres, and he didn't feel the balance was as good. They learnt a lot. Remember, in race 1 at Eastern Creek, it was a jet to begin with in race 1. They changed 2 rear tyres at Eastern Creek, and it went away. They've taken that platform and helped, hopefully, in this race.
And look at the rear left of that car, Neil. That's where he got belted by Stephen Johnson. It was such a lucky escape. And now Lowndes is in the hunt for a top 5 finish.
And he's starting to really apply pressure here to Marcus Ambrose. I spoke to him also before the start of the race, and he said that when they did go for the 4 green tyres for the shootout, the car was just simply way too pointy. The reason he had the big moment through the chicane at 4 and 5 was the back of the car just got away from him, and it mispositioned the car when he tried to negotiate turn 5. And they've calmed it down now for the race, and it's pretty effective. 51.7 on the last lap for him, and he's the only guy in the leading group that's circulating in 51s. It was a 2.5 for Todd, a 2.3 for Stephen, a 2.3 for Mark, a 2.3 for Marcus, 2.3 for Radisich, a 2.0 for Jason Bright. So looking at a 51.7 for Lowndes means he's comfortably the quickest guy of this group.
If you're superstitious and into numbers, 8 is a lucky number here in China, and Lowndes feels he's 3 times as lucky because he has 888. We'll see if that plays out. Believe in any of that, mate?
I believe in good balance
and fast cars.
I reckon we would all reach for a different number if we could have cured some slow cars over the years, if that was the easy way to fix it. But
Ambrose is under serious pressure here for the top Ford spot in this race that has been dominated by Holden's.
Have a listen there to Craig coming onto the back straight. It's interesting always to listen to the throttle work. This is as much a foot skill, this business, as it is a hand skill. It tells you a lot about the behaviour of the car and the style of the driver. Let's have a look here with Craig.
Inside at the hairpin, squeezes through. And Ambrose is unable to switch back. Forceful move, but a clean one.
Good one, wasn't it? Very good move. Opportunistic move, snuck down, ducked out at the very last moment, and he made it stick, didn't block a brake, no contact.
Saw the opening and went for it. That's what you got to do.
Yeah, very, very well done. Usually when you have a big last-minute lunge like that, it's very easy to lock a brake, or it's pretty easy, obviously, to rub panels. Right at the very end, Marcus saw him, gave him a little bit of space. Here it is again. Look at that whack. In fact, he probably outfoxed him a little because the indication from Craig was he was going to go the other way.
Yeah. Sharp move, very decisive. and it's paid off. He now sits fourth. We'll see if Ambrose can respond. What about our race leader, though? Todd Kelly, 2.1 seconds the lead. And here is the surging forward for 888 Racing. No better electrical stores, of course, in China. That's why there's a different livery on the side of that car. But the 22 HRT machine is flying. Kelly's best result this year has been fourth in the championship races, that is. Hasn't been on the podium yet. So this will be a great way to celebrate.
So he's on target to become the new lap record holder at this track, a 151.07. Last lap, as I said before, 52.4. This is Anthony Tratt's toll entry in the pit lane, getting some under-bonnet surgery at the moment. Mark Scaife could be vulnerable here too if he doesn't get a wriggle on, because Lowndes is quick. His split times very quick, nearly a second faster in this split on this lap.
Coming good towards the end of the race, the 888 Falcon. Kelly, Richards, Scaife, Lowndes, Ambrose, Radicic 6th. Bright is 7th, so he's coming good too. Murphy is slipping, he's sliding down the order. Is he having tyre trouble?
They were talking to him before about making a change. Steve Henderson asked, is it worth having a fiddle around with the rear anti-roll bar in the car to get it to behave a bit better? So I'd say his balance has gone away.
Much faster than Scaife.
That's Campbell Little advising Craig Lowndes. Lowndes position 4. Acknowledgement from Lowndes. He's chasing Todd Kelly, Steve Richards, Mark Scaife. Over the line, 52.1 for Kelly, 52.3 for Richards, 2.2 for Scaife, 51.6 for Lowndes. He's on the tear.
And what a fabulously successful weekend for this team. Dodo Racing, both of these cars in the top 10. Jason Richards 9th, Jamie Whincup 10th. The team that was based in Sydney as a one-car team moved to Melbourne over the off-season, grew to a two-car team, signed up this young Victorian and Jamie Whincup to accompany the Kiwi. Two great guys, a terrific team with Ron Harrop and Wally Story behind him, many others. There's Kevin Murphy, and they will be thrilled with this.
And Lee, he's one of a couple of drivers in this pit lane that haven't been afraid to pick up the spanners this weekend and work on their car with resources and parts at a premium for this first flyaway event for V8 Supercars. Some of the drivers have been chipping in. Jamie Whincup's one, Paul Dumbrell's another. Good result for Whincup at this stage.
Murphy just running a little wide onto that Astro turf here with Jason Richards behind. Very slippery if you get out there. It's been a real frustration in that Dodo Racing camp for the last couple of race meetings with this crazy misfire that they've got. Neil Burns, their engine man, I'd love to say tearing his hair out, but he doesn't have much of that stuff, which is the reason they call him Part. But I saw him just before the start of the race, and it's been driving them crazy, and they've done everything other than basically reconfigure the entire wiring loom in the car.
I went down there and had a chat to Ron Harrop about that very issue, and he looks around, he says, take a look over there, they're in garage 13. Sorry, man, I'm getting back to the numbers again. Lowndes is on Scaife. He's been the quickest in the first two sectors of this particular lap, and now he's hounding Scaife, but he's running out of time, the final two laps.
51.8 for him that lap. Scaife's lap time was a 52.1, so they pulled back 3/10 in the end. Let's stay with him, have a look at... Oh, Mark makes a mistake. The car uncouples at just the wrong moment when the load was on it. And actually Craig ran wide in the second part, so that sort of equalised, each of them making pressure errors.
Lowndes has got the momentum though. Will he try an Ambrose style move up into the hairpin at the end of the long back straight?
Picked up the throttle earlier than Scaife. Oh, this will be contact. They're rubbing. Oh, they're going to get away with it, are they?
Good clean driving.
Well, what I think Craig did in the end then was just get out of the throttle and not force the issue. But it's an unsettling moment for Scaife with the car rattling down the side, and that lets Ambrose back in the game as well.
Smart heads-up driving from Craig Lowndes to avoid contact when they were that close at that part of the circuit in particular.
This is turn 9, then 10. Scaife grabs the brake to steady the car, returns some load to the front tyres. Lowndes looking up the inside because of the wider approach that Mark initially takes. It allows him to be shallower here.
Is this Lowndes' opportunity? This is where he got Ambrose. Scaife knows it though. Sitting in the middle of the road, heading to the right-hand side, the defensive option.
Anthony Trapp was the slower car off to the right. Scaife defensive. Richards in the foreground. Good speed across the face of the corner there from Craig Lowndes. The car gets over the curbing well.
He'll over and under here. He'll try to over and under. onto the front stretch. Last lap coming up. First race of 3. Gets a good run out. He'll try and have a shot at Scaife into turn 1.
Lap, mate, last lap.
Hear how early Craig picked the throttle up then. He's just trying to force the car into a position where you just make a tiny positional gain on Mark Scaife. That piece has dropped out the front left the side of his air dam. This is where they both made a little error at the previous lap. Initially Mark and then Craig. Ambrose right with him.
Lowndes will take a shot at him again. Watch this, he's right with him. This is where he tried the move earlier on the previous lap. We're engrossed in this battle. We should give some credit to the Rat, Paul Radisich. He's immediately behind this for Team Kiwi Racing and running in a very solid 6th position.
1.9 seconds Todd Kelly enjoys over Stephen Richards at the moment. This is where the heat is.
They're on their way home. The first ever V8 race in Shanghai, China. And it's been a good one. Todd Kelly is on his way to snatching that first win. Can Lowndes get Scaife? Does Ambrose have anything to offer? Time and distance is running out.
They're all getting hungrier. They get right over the top of the curbing there, trying to find ways of generating grip, cover the other guy, look for a little advantage. Scaife out in the gutter on the backside of the Vallelunga curbing there, almost running out of road.
Lowndes is not close enough. He's not close enough there. Will he over and under like he did Ambrose? He's not close enough. No. Scaife should be able to hold on to this position.
And Mark turned in pretty early just to make sure that there was no gap there. I think he's okay. But a terrific pressure race from these guys.
It's been a long while for Todd Kelly. Hidden Valley a year ago, more than a year ago. Kelly wins the first ever race in Shanghai. Stephen Richards second, and Scaife hangs on to third.
Looks like it's some fun. Then we all finished.
Good rear.
Pick up on that one.
Yes, subtle message there.
Subtle message from Craig Lowndes to the universe.
There's Robbie Starr and the HRT gang. A 1-3 result. That will please them. It's a Holden 1-2-3. Stephen Richards for Castrol Perkins in second. Then Lowndes, Ambrose, Radisich, Bright. A solid result in 7th. Richards, Whincup and Murphy. Top 10. But it's Todd Kelly's day. Well done, Todd. Very impressive performance. Credit to the pit crew as well, who serviced him in very, very slick style. Popped him out right behind Stephen Richards, and then he forced the issue with Richards in turn 1, forced his way through, and drove away to victory. That will take some of the heat off him, some of the pressure. As we take a look at our VB scoreboard, we know who the podium men are, and then Ford, 4th and 5th with Lowndes and Ambrose. You have to give a huge pat on the back to the Dodo boys, Jason Richards, Jamie Whincup. That will bring a huge Shanghai smile to their faces. Valuable race as we roll through the remainder of the results. Credit to Glenn Seaton. He started 21st, so to finish 14th will give him a little bit of a lift. And Russell Ingall did it tough, 13th for the man who was 2nd in the championship. Let's get to Greg.
Well, some big cheers went up amongst the Holden Racing team here on pit wall. 1st and 3rd, Rob Starr, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, fantastic result for the team. Obviously, to have both cars up there at the first go here is fantastic. You know, great job by Todd. He drove flawless, and you know, Scaife was obviously having a few battles there, but he managed to bring it home. So you know, we're real proud of him.
Just tell me very quickly, how much was Mark's car hurting with the damage towards the end there? He did a terrific job to fend off Craig Lowndes.
Yeah, I don't think it was the best car to drive, and obviously Lowndes' thing was pretty good. So it's you know, Scaife's a hard man to get past. So
good on you. Go and enjoy, Rob.
Thanks, mate.
Darryl.
Well, Roland Dane, that goes to show you how important the top 10 shootout is for Craig, because in the race that car had good speed.
Yeah, I mean, we were far and away the quickest car out there. If you look at the consistency of the car is fantastic. We missed out on pole really through one little setup problem probably on the car, caused us a problem in one corner. Otherwise, I think Craig would have been on pole and we wouldn't have had to work as hard as we did today.
I tell you what, you got a pretty talented boy behind that wheel though. He's great to watch in a battle.
That was one of the passes of the season, wasn't it? Yeah, great.
Thanks, Roll.
Okay, thank you.
It was a fade to the outside, and then it was a very fast and decisive dive to the inside to grab that position. There is Lowndes' 888 machine. And 4th place will give him valuable championship points, and he was Ford's top man. Big thumbs up from Lowndes. He's pleased with that. But Todd Kelly has started the weekend in the best possible way for the Holden Racing team.